to take a call on the third reading of this very non-controversial bill, which is to fix up an accidental omission in the Immigration Act, and as we've said, Labor's supporting it. Now, I also want to pay respects to my colleague from the Green Party, because he's certainly well versed in the very controversial issues around immigration. We heard quite a lot of them actually when the members sitting alongside me on the Select Committee as the original Immigration Act went through its process, and as I've said earlier, that was a very long process and actually quite a difficult one too. Quite a difficult one because immigration by its very nature is discriminatory, and our country has to make decisions about who we will let across our borders and who we won't, and that's very, very difficult. I want to pay tribute once again to the various ministers of immigration who helped put the original bill together, Mr. Speaker, including David Cunliffe, Clayton Cosgrove, Leanne Dazelle, and forgive me if I miss anyone, but also Mark Goshi, who was the chair of the Transport and Industrial Relations Committee. And it was a very long process that we went through, as I've said, with that immigration bill. And we heard from many very, very powerful submitters, and powerful submitters in the sense that the stories they were telling us were incredible, and you can only wonder at the lives that some people are forced to lead. As I said, I'm no expert in the international scene, but what I do get as an MP, as indeed most MPs do, is people coming to talk to me as an MP about their situation and about what they're trying to do. They're trying to either enter the country, they're trying to get a work permit, they're trying to get permanent residence, they're trying to stop themselves being thrown out of the country because their work permit's expired and so on. And in this third reading speech, I particularly want to mention again, as I have in previous speeches about immigration, the chorus workers, the workers that were employed by Telecom via chorus, who were mainly Filipino, who were brought here on work permits to do a job because we couldn't get anyone else to do it at the time. They're highly skilled workers who were thrown off those permits and eventually sent home because Telecom decided that they would end the contract with Chorus, and Chorus and the new contractor then decided to make all of those workers owner-operators, and under New Zealand immigration rules you can't change from being an employee to a small business. And I think New Zealand got the worst end of the deal on that. Certainly the workers were treated appallingly. I appealed to the Minister on many occasions to try and intervene, and I know that personally met lots of those workers. Many of them come from the North Shore, and in fact Northcote, where the Minister is the elected MP, but unfortunately many of them have had to go home, and I don't think that's done our reputation any good at all. Now, we acknowledge that it is important that the commencement date for Section 474 of the Immigration is brought into effect, so that the Immigration and Protection Tribunal is appointed and ready, and when the rest of the Act comes into effect, and we'll be interested and looking forward to hearing who the members of that tribunal are. We look forward to hearing the announcement from the Minister. Now, as I said, this is a very minor and non-controversial amendment, and that's why we're supporting it. Again, I want to say congratulations to the Minister, Jonathan Coleman, on the birth of his child and to his wife, but it's probably a good thing that this happened tonight, because we had quite a long list of things that we were going to talk about with Jonathan Coleman and the errors and embarrassments that he had. But, in the spirit of a new life coming into the world, Mr. Speaker, we won't go there. But I do want to talk about the decisions that I've referred to since the Act came into force, in particular the retirement visas for cash, if I may return to that theme, which is rolling out the welcome for the world's rich retirees and the discrimination on the basis of wealth. And in particular, the mistake that the Minister has made around that, because this was looked at 10 years ago, Mr. Speaker. It was looked at 10 years ago and dismissed as an expensive mistake by the then Minister Lockwood Smith, 1999 in fact it was, and it was pointed out to him that the benefits of such a scheme, that's bringing in people of retirement age who contribute cash, and then sign up to health insurance, that the benefits of such a scheme are marginal while the risks are significant. including that visa holders would have to receive at least some of their health care in the public system. In the public system, that means New Zealand taxpayers' resources going into that, so they're not paying for themselves. The possibility of lobby groups forming in response, and the possibility of no health insurance being available. Now, officials certainly bagged this policy 10 years ago, but Minister Coleman has resurrected it, and I'm not sure about why he didn't look back and at the advice from 10 years ago, because nothing's changed. In fact, those risks still exist today. And even Jonathan Coleman admits that the benefits of his scheme are marginal at best. He said the policy is not a huge deal and unlikely to be a cash cow. So we're not going to get overrun with people. Well, actually, Mr Speaker, he hopes. But I do have to ask, like some of the other decisions the minister's made since the passage of the Immigration Act 2009, what's in it for New Zealand? Will this really have any noticeable effect on our economy? I don't think that's likely. And I think the potential costs for New Zealand associated with allowing retirement-age migrants to settle here will be greater than the potential investment earnings. Now, the number of people granted residency under the family parent category hasn't been increased, but those with enough money who fit under the new parent retirement category will get priority. Now, I think that's incredibly unfair. It means people with most of their family living in New Zealand already, but who don't have a lot of money, are going to miss out. And one of the things that you get as an MP is people who've settled here wanting to bring their parents to live with them, But if they haven't got the money, they're going to be at the bottom of the list. That's the truth about that. And I just think it's so inappropriate to prioritise someone as an investor migrant under the family migrant category, Mr Speaker, which is what that policy does. It's chequebook immigration. The prize of New Zealand citizenship is being sold to the highest bidder, never mind what other skills and values. However, I suppose it could be a make-work program, because we're going to need lots and lots of caregivers to look after these rich retirees, lots and lots of caregivers, and we've already seen these reports saying there's not enough to look after the people that we have already existing in New Zealand. There's already a shortage of caregivers, low-paid caregivers on minimum wage, and the report I saw said we're going to have to import all of them. We're going to have to import more of them. So I suppose that's a make-work scheme, another immigration scheme. The other decision that has come under the Immigration Act 2009 that I mentioned earlier was the Recognised Seasonal Employers Scheme, and the Minister's decision to undermine the requirement that workers must be paid minimum wage. That includes the cost of their accommodation. Now, I think that's shocking. In the last few weeks, there's been a couple of high-profile cases where workers have been found to be being paid well below minimum wage. Some real questions to be asked there. Meantime, the minister's been trumpeting the policy, actually which Labor introduced, but we put in safeguards around that, a lot of safeguards which have been removed, and now we're starting to see exploitation of those workers, which I think is shameful. So returning to the bill, Mr Speaker, I think that, as I said, it's non-controversial. We support it. It has to happen. We did a lot of work on the Immigration Act 2009. Most of it was Labor's work. It's a very, very difficult area. We're not happy with the decisions that the minister's made since the bill came into force, since the Act came into force, but we will support this amendment. Thank you, Mr Speaker.